Hello and welcome to today's video that's all about my fall self-care and pure desires list to feel loved and recharged in my marriage this season. So for anyone that's brand new here, my name is Laura Amador and I'm a Laura Doyle certified relationship coach and intimacy skills expert. And I'm so excited to dive into this one. This is a really fun ritual that I do at the turn of every single season. But before diving into exactly what this ritual is and how you can do it along with me and maybe even bring it into your own practice, I want to talk a little bit about the backstory and how I learned through trial and error that if I don't do this, what happens and what the benefits are. So, I've been on my journey with the intimacy skills for over 10 years now, 11 years now. So there's been a lot of trial and error along the way. And I started to realize that at the turn of every season, I started to notice something a little bit unsettling, that my marriage suddenly would feel harder. So things would go great and really smoothly, and then the season would start to turn and things fell hard. I'd feel more disconnected, a little resentment started bubbling up. I was kind of shorter, less patient with my husband, more irritated, and honestly, less fun to be around. And so for a long time, I had no idea why. I hadn't even really realized that it was a seasonal thing. I just realized I just thought we were in this bizarre cycle where things would feel really great and wonderful and connected and then hard. And so it turned out that it wasn't that my husband was suddenly becoming more irritating every time the weather changed. And it wasn't that my marriage was falling apart on some strange seasonal cycle. When I really thought about it, I realized that the problem was actually totally on my paper. In other words, totally within my control, which was awesome because then I could do something about it. And so the problem I realized was this. First, was that my self care cup was no longer full because the things that had nourished me in the previous season weren't actually serving me anymore or just not suitable weather wise. And so, for example, going from summer into fall, sometimes it would be hard because it would be raining a lot and I couldn't go out for my daily walk. Or the weather started getting cold, so I couldn't go swimming in the pond or in the lake anymore, right? So all of a sudden my cup wasn't getting full anymore. And the second thing was that I wasn't being intentional about how I wanted to experience my marriage in the new season. In other words, what I wanted to receive. And so that was my light bulb moment. And so I created a ritual that has completely changed the way I experience every season and every year of my marriage since then. At the start of every single season, I sit down with my journal and I make two lists. The first is a self care list, and that's, of course, for me specifically. And the second is a pure desires list, and that's for me and my marriage. And so let me just tell you, this practice has been a huge game changer. My marriage doesn't drift into disconnection anymore. Instead, every season feels like a fresh chance to reset, recharge, and reconnect. And so, of course, fall is now here. We are mid-ish September, so now is the perfect time. And I'm going to share with you my exact list with you and my little process of how I do this. And also a simple little twist that I've added recently that makes this ritual even more fun and powerful. So I'm going to start with the little twist, the little addition that I've added to this. And that is looking back before moving forward. So if you did this along with me, this little ritual along with me at the beginning of the summer, then this is going to be awesome. You can do this part of the practice. If this is your first time hearing about this, you can still do this. So stick with me because this will still apply to you. So this summer, before I opened up a blank page for the fall, I first pulled out the list, my self care and my pure desires list, and I asked myself two questions. And so, just to be specific, these are the lists that I made at the beginning of the summer. So, the older lists. And so, I looked at both lists and I just asked myself, which of my pure desires on this list actually came true? And so at the beginning of the summer, I made a list of 20 pure desires and 20 self-care ideas that I wanted to do for this summer. So just looking back and reflecting and actually seeing which of these pure desires actually came true and which self-care practices nourished me the most. And this was so powerful and so insightful. And I'm really proud to say that I actually did every single thing on my self-care list. So all 20 things, I did them. And that in itself feels amazing. So I picked out two of my favorites that I wanted to share with you. The first was watching the sunrise at the beach with my two best friends. Oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. It was quite a drive, so we had a mini road trip. It was like a 3-hour drive. So we road tripped up, listening to music, catching up. We got there right before the sun rose. We sipped our coffee. We were all bundled up under blankets because it was still pretty cold. We munched on a beautiful charcuterie board, took lots of pictures, and even went for a morning swim. And it was so gorgeous. I mean, the water was just golden, the waves were reflecting the light. It was just really magical. The other self-care thing that I'd say nourished me the most was spending whole days at the lake with my husband and my kids. We just laughing, splashing, soaking up the sun, and just relaxing together. So those are the kind of days that I'll remember and cherish. It was really special. Now, for my pure desires, out of the 20 pure desires that I created for the summer, 14 of them came true. So, not bad at all. So, my two favorites, pure desires, were um, the first one was my husband surprised me on a random Thursday for no reason at all with a beautiful pair of earrings from my favorite jewelry brand. It's called Jonah Jensen Sweden. And oh my gosh, I've been wanting jewelry from this brand for years. And so it felt so special and romantic. And I just felt kind of swept off my feet that out of nowhere, that little package came just because I had said I would love a pair of earrings from this brand. And lo and behold, it happened. So that was really, really fun. And my other one was seeing Niagara Falls with my husband and kids. That was actually just this weekend. So we road tripped up. We watched the falls lit up at night. It was so beautiful. They lit them up with all different colors and there were fireworks. And then the next day we got up close. We went in the boat called I think it's called the Maiden of the Mist. It's this boat ride that brings you right up under the fall. Well, not under them, but close up. And it's really, really magical and beautiful. And it's a memory that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. So looking back makes me feel so proud, happy, grateful, and deeply loved. And it reminds me that these lists are not just words on a paper. They really do come alive, shaping how I experience life and how I connect in my marriage. So, before diving into making this season's list for this fall, I'd love to invite you to take a few minutes to look back at everything wonderful that you experienced this summer and really let yourself soak in the joy, gratitude, and love that came with it. Okay, so once you've done that, once you've reflected and really received and soaked that all in, I want to talk about the first list, which is self-care and why it's so important that that shift with seasons, or at least for me it is. Maybe you'll find that for you this is important as well. So I've noticed that my self-care cannot stay the same all year long. I live in New England, in Massachusetts, so we get all 4 seasons for sure. And so that impacts what I'm able to do and what I want to do and how I'm feeling and how much energy I have. So self-care in the summer is light and bright. It's lake swims, bare feet, outside, naps in the AC. But fall self-care needs to be grounding for me, cozy, and replenishing in a very different way. So when I take the time to honor this seasonal rhythm, I show up differently in my marriage. I feel steadier, softer, and more available for connection. And my husband doesn't just get the leftover, stressed out version of me, he gets the cared for and alive version. Not to mention, we have small kids, so the start of school is now. Our schedules are changing drastically. What time I go to bed and wake up is changing, right? All those things are changing, and so I want to make sure that I'm being intentional about how I need to adjust that self-care so that that cup can be optimally full, right? So when I'm that version of myself, the best cared for, nourished, well rested version, everything between my husband and I feels easier and more loving. And so I'd love to share with you my personal self-care list that I came up with for this fall. And yeah, feel free to snag anything that might inspire you. Your list might look totally different, and that's awesome too. But I figured I'd share just in case you feel stuck and you want to get some ideas. So here are my 20. The first one is sipping my morning coffee outside in the crisp air and the golden light of early morning. There's something just so special about coffee outside for some reason. I just love it. The second is a gentle forest walk to see the foliage. Again, I live in Massachusetts, so we get beautiful foliage here. All the golden colors. It's just really lovely. Three is journaling with my daughter. We got a little mother-daughter journal, and she loves it, and I love it too. It's just a really sweet way to connect at the end of the day, and we go through our gratitudes and positive affirmations together, and it's just really special. Four is my monthly book club, which is a mom's night out. We usually meet up at a nice restaurant and talk about books, talk about all all the things, everything that sometimes we only talk about a book for like 2 minutes and then we just talk about our lives, which is a lot of fun too. Number five is watching my show that I'm watching right now. I'm watching Blood of My Blood. It's so, so good. Oh my gosh. One of my favorite shows in the entire world is Outlander. So this is the prequel to that, in case you're an Outlander fan as well. Six is a face mask with tea and a movie. That's one of my favorite ways to wind down at the end of the day. Seven is tea time with a lovely cup of tea. I have a little china set that my mom gave me for, it was a wedding gift actually. And it's just so beautiful. It just really up levels the whole experience of having tea. Eight is taking naps. Just nice and simple, very, just taking a nap when I'm tired. Number nine is listening to 90s and early 2000s music. That's the music that I grew up listening to, when I was a youth, and it just brings me back to that and gets me all happy and energized. 10 is lighting a candle, and bonus points if it smells fallish, like that pumpkin, pumpkiny smell or apple pie smell. Those are my favorites for the fall. 11 is getting a mani and a pedi. 12 is getting a facial. 13 is giving myself a neck or a scalp massage. Sometimes I just, hold a lot of tension up here. And instead of just ignoring that and pushing through, really taking the time to work out the knots and, stretch a little and relax and just massage. It feels so good. 14 is getting coaching. I try to get coaching at least every other week, and it just keeps me thriving and growing in all of my relationships. It's of course with my husband, but also I get coaching for my relationships with my kids and my parents and et cetera, et cetera. So that's always wonderful. 15 is walking my dog and listening to an audiobook. 16 is daily workouts. I do like a 20-minute Pilates strength thing and then 10 minutes of stretching, so that always feels good. 17 is deep breathing. So usually after my workout, I sit and just take a few deep breaths, and that always feels really good. 18 is nutritious, hearty meals. 19 is hydrating well, and 20 is getting 8 hours of sleep, something that I need to be better about. So that's definitely on my self-care list for this season. Okay, let's get into pure desires. So if self-care fills your cup, pure desires are what make your marriage sparkle. A pure desire is not a demand, a list of expectations, or something that, I say and boom, it better happen or I'm going to be upset, right? It's actually a gentle expression of what would delight your heart. And it sounds like, I would love, and then you fill in the end with the final outcome that you would love. So that means not giving instructions about how this desire is to happen, not putting a timeline on it. This is again no expectations. It's really just it's planting seeds of opportunity for joy and connection. And similar to planting seeds, you might not always know when that seed is going to germinate exactly. You might not even, if you're like me and you mix up your seeds, you might not even know what's going to sprout where. You might get a sunflower, you might get a cucumber, and that's okay because then it ends up being a wonderful surprise. And that's what it's all about. And so, when expressed in this way, in the pure way that inspires, your desire becomes an invitation instead of an instruction. It opens a door for your husband to step in as your hero in his own way and timing. So fall is perfect for a perfect season for this because it's naturally kind of a slower, cozier, family-centered time. It's a season that invites connection, but only if we voice what would really make us feel happy and cherished. So I'm going to share with you my pure desires list. Again, feel free to snag any that inspire you. Hopefully this will just get you thinking about ideas for yourself. So here are mine for this season. The first is to cook fun seasonal meals. This is kind of just a pure desire that I have for myself, I suppose. I want to just explore and have fun with that, maybe cook with my kids. Two is to go apple picking. So I would just say out loud to my husband, I'd love to go apple picking. And yeah, that happens almost every year. So I'm sure I'm looking forward to having these family memories together. Three is to carve pumpkins. Four is to eat apple cider donuts. So delicious. We get them at a local farm nearby. Five is to go out for brunch with my sisters and my best friends. Six is to host a mom's club meeting. I'm thinking muffins and coffee at the playground, something just super low key, very easy. Seven is one-on-one hot cocoa and coloring dates with each of my children. I love having that one-on-one time. And yeah, I end up kind of getting the scoop about what's happening at school and how they're feeling. And it's just really special. Eight is fuzzy socks. I love fuzzy socks. Nine is a seasonal candle. I don't have a seasonal candle at the moment, so I'd love one. 10 is to have fall flowers on my table. 11 is a fall flower wreath on my front door. 12 is a deep cleaning and a decluttered home. I try to do this every season as well. And I always put out my pure desire because it's amazing, when a woman knows what she wants and puts it out there, the universe responds. I've had times where my mom volunteers to babysit so that the kids are, having fun kind of out of the way so I can focus. I've had plenty of times where my sisters volunteer to help me and we have a cleaning party together. So we blast music, order pizza, and it's just a lot of fun. So I'm going to put that desire out there for sure. Um, a head massage. I mentioned that for self-care, but in pure desire, if I am just relaxing with my husband on the couch and just put it out there, I'd love a head massage right now. My husband's usually really good at being like, all right, come on. I'd love lots of visitors this season. I'd love to host people. 15 is I'd love a new phone. Mine is barely functioning these days. So, yeah, I think a new phone would add to my joy. 16 is a homeschooling kit for my 3-year-old. Yeah, I'm thinking just crafts and Play-Doh and some books to practice writing. So that would be fun. 17 is some cozy maternity clothes. Um, for those of you who know, I'm expecting December 3rd actually. So I have my summer, maternity clothes. I don't have anything for the fall yet. So 18 is some cozy postpartum clothes. 19 is a pumpkin pie themed baby sprinkle. I'm thinking of calling it a cutie pie is on her way. So just something very small and simple where we, eat pie, maybe have some coffee and just hang out. And 20 is a family photo shoot. I love, love, love doing a family photo shoot, especially with the foliage in the background. It's just so beautiful. All right, so it's your turn, my friend. I invite you to take a quiet moment with your journal and make your own list. So, what self care is going to nourish you this fall? And what are the pure desires that speak to your heart? This ritual is about so much more than just cute seasonal activities. It's about creating a marriage that feels fresh, vibrant, and joyful every single season of your life. And I mean that, as seasons like fall, spring, summer, but also the different seasons that we experience as humans, right? Because your desires are sacred, your joy matters, and your marriage is worthy of this kind of intentional care. Feel free to email me your list, by the way, for accountability. I love reading and getting inspired by what other women come up with as well. And I do have a free guide if you want to go deeper with this. It's called 5 Steps to Reignite Connection in Your Marriage. So if you don't have that already, feel free to get that. The link is in the description. All right, my friend, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you enjoy making these lists. I can't wait to hear your ideas and what ends up coming true for you that you end up celebrating. So happy fall, my friend. Thank you so much for listening into this video, and I look forward to connecting again next week. Bye bye.